Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feeling bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fears and sorrows, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through. If you light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness, although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Santa's podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie.
And I'm Sweetie.
And we're finishing up Sequel September. Ah! Guys, we did it. Oh my God. I can't believe it. We just were like powering through these sequels. We didn't think we were going to finish them all because we had, a week of tragedy. But we fucking did it.
And we were like, sequels suck. And I feel like we got sick of them. And it was hard. See, this is why I don't love theme months, because you have to you're stuck. You're stuck in the rut. You're stuck in the sequels rut. I didn't love it. Whatever. It's over now. But we ended on a positive note because I do enjoy this movie. Do you still enjoy it, Sweetie?
If the movie you're talking about is My Girl 2, then yes, I do. My girl.
My girl.
My girl too.
About my girl too.
Didn't plan that one. Yeah, My Girl 2 is really adorable. It's just a really interesting sequel. They really did some cool stuff with it. I think one of the best sequels we did. It's not super funny. I just think it's a really well done thing that they did. Good explanation.
Yeah, they took the action out of where the first one was, so there's not those familiar beats that can kind of be we're annoying with sequels, whatever. They took something that obviously was important to Vada and was always kind of a mystery to us as the viewers, as well as herself, in that her mother and who she was and what do we know about her. Not much, turns out. And so yeah, I thought it was pretty brills, and I really enjoyed it when I was little, especially the end, the singing part. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful story, and like Sweetie said, it's a continuation of the story, but a totally different frame of the story, and some of the original elements are there, but obviously Vada is older. It's sad, but in a not as sad way, sort of a sad happy way. And you just see this girl grew up who you just loved seeing her as little Vada Sultenfuss, and then now this is 6 years later, because we thought she was 7 and she's 13.
11.
Oh my God. Okay, so it's only 3. Shit. Okay. So it takes place in so My Girl 2 from 1994. I think the original was 90. Possibly 1990, possibly 1992. But this takes place in 1974, so you're a little bit more into these, obviously into the 70s and sort of like past the hippie, going into like disco, I guess, if you're talking about like decades and history and all that. Disco. I was gonna say jazz, but I was like, that don't fit. Reprising their roles are all the same cast members, which is awesome. Again, great thing with a sequel. You gotta have this. The reason you're coming back for more is because you love those guys. So like Dan Aykroyd, bitchin'. Jamie Lee Curtis, bitchin'. Robert Mazur, bitchin'. Vada Sultenfuss, Anna Chlumsky, bitchin'. The black guy who works at the funeral home, bitchin'. And then some newbies. So who are the newbies?
You know, I don't know their names, and whoops.
Just say a description and then bitchin', and then I'll cover
it. Uncle Phil's girl, bitchin'. Uncle Phil's girl's son, bitchin'.
I believe his name is Nick.
Nick. Yeah, so good cast of characters, good little sweet little film. So let's talk about it a little bit. We'll do a little, what do we call it, sweetie?
It's time for the sweetie synopsis. Yeah, sweeties. Hey, kids. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Benny and the Jets. A lot of good Elton John tunes. Actually, the whole soundtrack of this movie is pretty awesome, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I'll tell a story about that later. Okay. Vada Sultenfuss is back. She's now 13 years old and venturing off into the world of confusing teenage land. A boy might have a crush on her. She doesn't know. He was mean to her. Turns out that might mean they like her. She's got that friend Judy still, who's kind of a bitch. We don't like her.
She's the fucking worst. Dump Judy.
Dump Judy. She
Where's
sucks.
Thomas J when you need him? All right.
He's dead, sweetie. God, why'd you have to bring it up?
Too soon.
So the kids get a school project where they need to do a report on someone that I forget the general why they picked the person.
They touched their childhood.
Oh my God, just like us. I would like to pick Jurassic Park. So the it has to be someone you've never met, and they have to have done something, or you have to like do a presentation on it, or blah 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 blah. So Vada's like, "Oh, I'll pick my mother," and they're like, "Vada, you have to have never met them." And she's like, "I haven't met my mother because her mother died when she was giving birth to Vada." Sad. So, I mean, Vada's still spinning yarns. She's trying to make it seem like her mom was like wicked cool and was like a Russian spy, but everybody sees through that shit now. It's not like Thomas J just like believing everything she said. God bless him. Miss you. So I'd just like to preface this by saying Shelley is now pregnant. So she's expecting a baby in like 6 weeks. Shelley is still awesome. She's still the best.
Oh my God, she's the best.
Still the best. She says, "Hey, I got an idea. Why don't you go to LA where Uncle Phil now lives and try to find out more about your mom for your project?" Because she thinks this will be really good for Vada. And it will be, because literally nobody knows anything. I feel like her dad knew her mom for like the whole time, only like 10 months maybe. They met. Month later, got married, and she was pregnant, and then she died. Like, it's fucked up.
Not even a year. That's crazy.
Yes.
Sorry.
Still working on the one mic. We'll fix it soon. So she goes to LA. She is going to stay with Uncle Phil, who works at a garage, the Budapest garage. She finds out that he's living in the apartment above the garage with a woman and her son. And she's like, "What? Are you engaged?" And he's like, "No." She's like, why?" And because, you know, it's what is this? The 60s? 70s. It was still like a big deal, apparently, to people on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah. But it's also like not like Shelley and her dad, who like met and got married like a second later. So like, sorry, Vada, like some people take their fucking time. Chill the fuck out. It's also the 70s, so it's like relax again. And it's California. Relax again. Yeah. So shows up at the airport. Where the fuck is Uncle Phil? Not there. And instead, this David Cassidy lookalike shows up, and he's like, "Are you Vada?" And she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" No. Basically, so she is. She's a little freaked out, but they jump in a cab. Very independent 13-year-olds they are. And shows up at the garage, says hi to Uncle Phil, blah, blah, blah. So now she has this little buddy named Nick, and he is a cutie. and he like totally likes her, but that weird sort of like dynamic where he's kind of making fun of her a lot, you know, kind of like what she learned in the beginning of the film. Like why do boys make fun of you if they like you? Yeah, why do they? Somebody answer me that. It's fucking stupid. Well, relationship advice from Sweetie. Anyway, so she's whole mission. She's only there for 5 days. She's on school vacation. It's a tight schedule. So she has a great idea to go to her mom's high school, find an old yearbook, and then figure out who her mom's friends were, right? Well, bad news.
Why? Oh, I know why. The school burned the school burnt down. So they're like, shit, what are we going to do now? And Nick's like, well, you got to ask yourself, where do yearbooks get made? And apparently all yearbooks got made at the same yearbook making publishing company, because that's where they go. I don't know why they knew that, but maybe it was just a thing that people knew in the 70s.
And let's remember, this wasn't like, hey, let's like Google yearbook manufacturers and go there. What the hell? Good for them. Were they just like cold calling places and be like, do you make yearbooks? Did you make the yearbook for Wilson High School? That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. So they find it, and then they start tracking people down. They look at what clubs her mom was in. They find those people. So the rest of the movie is basically kind of like a mystery. They go from like one person that knew her who like leads them to another person, until they end up at one of her mom's good friend's stores.
Hold on, I wrote it all down in a flow chart. Do you want to say it or no? Too much detail?
You seem really into it and proud.
But I made a flow chart.
Okay, say it.
Okay. So first they go to the police station, because Henry Tanaka was in the newspaper club with Maggie, who is Vada's mom. And he's like, oh, like you should talk to the guy who was at the photographer at our newspaper club, who ends up being Ben Stein, which is like weird. Why is Ben Stein in like every movie we do? Who knows? Ben Stein's like, you should talk to her old poetry teacher. So she rolls up in this like old man's house. He's like, oh, what about I forgot the connection with the director guy. Like
he was in the drama club.
He was a drama club, yeah. So director guy is in drama club. So they go to this movie set, and this guy is like, oh, like you should really talk to Hillary, like her friend, like they were really, really close, and this and that. Show up at Hillary. She has this like cool hippie shop, and she's like, you know, all like spiritual, into like crystals and like all that junk. And then Hillary's like, so what's your dad doing these days? And he's like, oh yeah, we live in Pennsylvania. Like he's an undertaker. And she's like, Jeffrey Pomeroy is an undertaker? What? And Vada's like, his name is Harry Sultenfuss. Who's Jeffrey Pomeroy? Ugh. Awkward.
Super awkward. So then they go back to the cop, and they're like, listen, you turned my mom in for smoking cigs. Like, you did bad. You're bad. You suck. Look up this guy's name and get his license, get his address for us. So he does it, and then Vada goes with Uncle Phil, and she goes up to the door and rings the doorbell. She's very brave. And he answers the door, and she's like, hi, are you Jeffrey Pomeroy? And he's like, yeah. And he like immediately knows who she is, which I guess... Did her mom stay in touch with him? I guess, but it was like it had been through like letters, maybe a phone call. I don't know. Who knows? So he invites her in. He knew she died. He knew she died. So yeah, there was that. He invites her in. They like talk a little bit. Vada's like pretty convinced at this point that this is her real father, but like no, they're not talking about that, which is like kind of weird. I'm like, just spit it out.
So based on what? Why did she think that again?
Because she knew that her mom and dad had such a short relationship that like it's very probable that like they broke up, and then she met her dad and then was pregnant. She could have gotten pregnant before that, and she thought that like nobody's nose in her family looked like her nose, which I'm like, hello, you're an actress and you're not related to anyone in this movie because this isn't real. That's why your nose looks different. But
Sweetie, put two and two together.
I knew that when I was little. I knew it. So then he shows her these videos, which is a very special moment we'll talk about. And finally, she's like, oh, didn't you ever wonder about me, like how I turned out? And he's like, wait a minute, do you think I'm your father? And she's like, maybe you didn't say you weren't, so how was I supposed to fucking know? And he's like, no, I'm not your dad. And he tells her like the reason they broke up was because her mom wanted children and he didn't want children, even though he has a child now. I always hate that when somebody's like, I don't want kids, but then they end up having kids like 2 years later. I'm like, fuck you.
Not ready.
Guys are not, yeah, it's stupid. So anyway, so that's that. So she's like, she feels good, she feels at ease, she goes back home, flies home. The what's the black guy's name? Arthur is waiting for her at the airport. She's like, where's my dad? He's like, she's at the hospital with Shelly. Oh shit. So they go to the hospital. Shelly has the baby. It's very sweet. She now has a little brother. She sings the song that she learned from the movie. And it's all very sweet, and life goes on. And I assume she got an A on that report. She better have.
She said.
Oh, she did?
Yep.
Oh, shit. Good thing.
Nick's coming to visit this.
Nick's coming to visit this summer. So her and Nick basically have like a teenage romance. Nothing really happens until the very end when she's saying goodbye at the airport, and they smooch, and he gives her a little present. She had gotten her ears pierced on a rowdy night on in LA when they were out. When they weren't supposed to be. And he got her a pair of earrings. So yeah, it's real sweet, but now they're like step cousins. So it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, adorable movie, like really cool because it takes place in like a really interesting time in California with the sort of like hippie culture and all that stuff. Interesting, like kind of that little treasure hunt of like trying to figure out who her mom was. Kind of cool watching Vada grow up and being like a really awesome feminist. Like she always was, like obviously even as like an 11-year-old. So cool like that. But it like proliferates. She has some pretty good lines in here about, certain things. I think Sweetie wrote a couple of them down, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, just like adorable, like sweet little movie. Just again, like the first one. I mean, no tear jerking, maybe a little bit. I always get a little teared up in the movie though when she's getting shown the videos of her mom, because you have to remember that Vada doesn't know, like she has like one picture of her mother. And she has this little box, and in the box it has her mom's passport, couple of her like playbills because she was an actress, and then this paper bag with a date written on it. So on her treasure hunt, she's showing people this bag, and they kind of are giving their assumptions on like what maybe this bag is and what it means. And it's not till she visits Jeffrey Pomeroy that he tells this really beautiful story about how when they got married, they were so poor and they didn't have, money for a photographer or say like anything. And they got married, like eloped basically, and no one else came. But then they got like chestnuts from a street vendor, and she like saved the bag and wrote the wedding date on it. And she's like, this will be our photo album. And it's adorable. And you realize like her mom was such a special person. People loved her. She was like a beautiful person inside and out. And Vada comes to the conclusion, she says at the end, like, I know this sounds like super conceited, but I think like I was my mom's greatest achievement, which is, kind of heartbreaking. So yeah, so the video part is when Jeffrey Pomeroy has all these videos. So that's the first time she's ever seen, like, obviously her mom, like live and in color and in person. Oh my God, I would have like lost it. If I'd never met my mother, oh my God, I don't know how especially, certainly men have like if you didn't know your mom, that would be one thing too. But for women, I think that's just like, I would just be like so lost as a person, like not knowing who my mother was. And Vada does a good job because she's awesome. And she still has great parents because like we said, Shelly, fucking awesome. Though Shelly mommed up like so quick. Shelly, I'm like kind of upset with you, but also I think it's because like it's the style change to like being very marmy.
And she's pregnant.
I know, but like, that haircut doesn't do no favors. It's like a mullet.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just think she got pregnant and she was like, I don't feel like it anymore. Like, so she didn't care. She needs to wear the blue eyeshadow anymore. She's like, this is actually ugly.
She's still cute.
Lesson learned. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about favorite parts. So I have 2 parts that I always remember from this movie. And the first one is like a 4-part series of this weird thing where at the garage, this like douchebag in a red Jag comes in and like tries to romance Phil's lady friend. What's her first? Why Rose. Tries to romance Rose right in front of Phil, even though the first time he comes, Phil's like, what? So this is one of my favorite comedic moments in this movie is when Phil comes over. And he's like, hey, how are you? I'm Phil. And like shakes his hand and like puts his arm around Rose. And then like when he's like saying goodbye, he like puts his hand on the guy's windshield and his hand's all oily from like all the grease because he's been working in the cars. He's like, oh no, sorry about that. And then he takes his like super oily rag from his back pocket and tries to like wipe it off. And it like makes this giant smudge. He's like, whoa, made it worse. Well, come back tomorrow. We'll fix that right up. I just always remember that when I just think he's got great comedic timing. And I just love that. But that guy is so douchey. He comes back like 5 times, tries to woo her at the very end, even after getting a talking to from Phil at the very end, comes and brings Rose like Danish. Give me a fucking break.
He's a doctor, and he like makes a point of saying it, and he's like such a desperado doctor. And you know those doctors are like so cocky because they're like, oh my god, I make so much money, and like everyone's gonna love me, and like just because I have this career, I'm like the shit. Like nobody fucking cares, dude. You suck. You're a slimy bastard. Like get out of this garage. But he gets his ass handed to him basically, and like Uncle Phil like ends up, it was good because that needed to happen because something needed to light a fire under Uncle Phil's ass. Because Rose was a catch and she was awesome. He was letting her slip away and she was annoyed and she wanted to get married and he wouldn't propose, even though he had been living there and they obviously like were going in that direction. Uncle Phil, you stepped it up. I'm super proud of you. And I love you and Mr. Boogedy. Okay.
Thank you. Did you have any other favorite parts aside from the end that you want to talk about before we talk about the end?
I didn't like remember almost any of the beginning. It's like only the California part that like really stuck with me. I love the California part. I was saying when we were watching this, it totally reminded me of when we went out for Jeopardy this spring, and like how cool California is. And even like when we went, this was 1974 like setting, and we went this year, and California is still like that to me. It like seems so different with all the palm trees and the weather, and you like look outside and there's people in convertibles and surfboards and this cool life. I mean, it's like kind of awesome. So Vada has like a really, she's from like a small town in Pennsylvania, so like, and her first real big trip, I think. I mean, that's huge for a 13-year-old. That is so cool. So that always made me like, was really cool. Other parts that I remember, the tar pit part. So I always remember that part because it's like sort of the one time she talks about Thomas J in this. And I think that's really smart that they just made like one little scene, and she kind of, as her and Nick's relationship is like moving closer and she starts to confide in him, like that's her like biggest thing, right? Like she carries around that memory of Thomas J like physically with that mood ring, but also like always just kind of like haunts her as this like thing that happened to her when she was like a little girl. And she like moves through her life with that sort of like on her back. So they do this thing where she tells him, oh, what's that mood ring? And she like tells him the story and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, let me try it on. And they're at the La Brea tar pits, which are in like lots of different movies. Like I brought up to Sweetie that I always remember in the movie Volcano. Have you ever seen that movie? No, I hate horrible. Oh, it's horrible. It's, oh my God, we should do that just to laugh at it. It's hilarious. But there's this part where it's like, there's a volcano underneath, like Los Angeles, and the La Brea tar pits. Like you see all the animals that are in that. It's because it's like supposed to be like the tar pits that were in like whatever stage of the whatever where woolly mammoths were. So there's like a woolly mammoth in the tar pit.
Just elephants.
No, it's a woolly mammoth. Okay. And so in the volcano, like it's like a volcano is underneath the tar pit. So like all the little figures like melt and like slowly sink down into the tar pit. And I always like remember that. But in this one, so he's like, oh, let me see your mood ring. And then he like pretends that he dropped it in the fucking tar pit. Like fucking guys.
Ugh, that part just makes me so mad, and it made me even more mad this time because she's pouring like out her soul. She's obviously very still upset by this insanely traumatic incident that happened to her, like 2 years ago. And he's like, oh, I'm going to play this good gag on her where I'm going to pretend to drop this like only piece she has of her friend that died from bee stings in the tar pits. And then when she freaks out, he doesn't tell her right away. Like he chases after her and is like, what are you doing? Like, dude, just like fess up right away. Like it goes on way too long. It's so upsetting.
I mean, it's kind of like psychotic if you think about it. Like that's someone you would not want as your boyfriend. I'm just saying.
But you love Nick. You were obsessed with
He
him.
really comes around.
Yeah, he comes around. So yeah, I remember that part too. And I remember when I was little, I was like, what the fuck are the tar pits? Like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Like, why is there tar? Like, I don't know. So that's cool. Okay. So the end part has always been my favorite part. And there was a moment of my life where, okay, let's go back. I'm going to take you back to early 2000s Napster.
Yep.
I downloaded the Smile song from this movie with Maggie and Moldovan / Sultenfuss singing the song. And I loved it. I loved this song so much. I love her rendition. I love her voice. I love the way that her voice sounds when she says, "You must keep on trying." It's like, it like pulls at my heartstrings. Like, it's like really powerful stuff. So, and I love the videos. And like, sweetie, you were saying, like, it's such a special thing. Like, we have home videos of our father, and it's like the most magical thing. And we know him, and it's still very magical. So I can't even begin to comprehend, like, if you've never met somebody and you see a video of them, like, what that does to like your heart.
It's such a part of you because it's her mom.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I just love that part. But yeah, the Smile song, smile though your heart is aching. Okay, so the part that I love is when she goes, "That's the time you must keep on trying."
So good.
It's so beautiful.
I almost shed a couple tears during that again.
always did.
And like Vada doesn't cry though, does she? She does cry a little. Yeah, it's just such a, I mean, definitely like the most memorable part of this movie, that whole thing. And it's like we were saying, these great little videos of her mom having fun. There's her like at the theater where she does all these like funny little voices, and because she was just like such like a actress and loved doing all that kind of stuff. And then that part is really stripped down because it's just like her at a cookout or something, and they're like, "Maggie, sing for us." And so she does like that beautiful rendition, and it's just like, oh my god, I mean what a gift.
Bless her heart for coming up with that song and being like a champ about it. So I just want you to like, let's do a little game where we're at a cookout, sweetie, and I'm gonna go, sweetie, sing us a song. What's the first song that comes into your mind that you would sing? Go.
Oh my god.
5 seconds.
Shoot.
Just anything, whatever comes out.
So the song that's been in my head all day has been JoJo Get Out. Get out right now. It's the end of you and me. It's too late. That's like all I have. JoJo, everybody. JoJo. It's good. How about you? Okay, so
I'll do it for you.
Oh wow, like this is such a great cookout. Like, oh hey sweetie, like your voice is so good. Sing us a song.
Little bunny foo foo. I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice. So just a brief story is that the reason that comes to mind is that when one of my first boyfriends, I was like trying to like impress him. I was like, I have a good voice. I was like, listen to this. For some reason, I was like, this is really cheesy, but like listen to the bunny foo foo like with my hot pipes.
What the fuck?
And I was like, little bunny foo foo.
Did you sing that with a straight face? What the fuck? This is Zach Robinson? Oh my god.
Oh, I remember. I was like, I'm gonna do a funny album where I do like children's songs, but like in a really like swanky like bar. It was my lounge singer days, you know.
We told that story.
Listen to the Roger Rabbit episode for more info. But man, good times. But like that's so awkward to like just sing on the spur of the moment for your friends. Like obviously she's an actress, so she's used to the limelight. But like,
she must have had a repertoire of like 5 songs where they're like, Maggie, sing, and she's like, okay, like I'm gonna do this one. Smile, though your heart is aching.
what does that song remind you of?
Smile. Jermaine. Jermaine Jackson. Oh. Oh yes. No. Wait. Is that from the? Are you talking about the Jackson like miniseries with Angela Bassett?
Somebody sings it.
Yeah.
Sang it at Michael's funeral, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. No, I'm thinking of. Have you ever seen the Michael Jackson like, or the Jacksons? Like, oh my god, I can never like. It's so long. The one with Angela Bassett and who's the dad, but it's like really scary. But there's this beautiful part of that where little Michael Jackson, and this is true, was at like his school talent show, and he sings "Climb Every Mountain," I think, and it's like he fucking nails it. Obviously, King of Pop, it's so good. Anyway, super weird tangent. That is funny though. Little bunny Foo-Foo hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. Zach Robinson was like, "Oh man, I like you." It's too funny. Hey, shout out Sweetie's first boyfriend. What up? Get out right now. Yeah. Anyway, good times. Okay, so I think so when we're watching this, interestingly enough, we have like a similar experience that Vada had in this movie. We actually like basically lived like parallel lives. So the part where Vada learns that her mom was married before her dad, very stunning to her. Obviously, she knew nothing about it. And as an 11-year-old, like that's weird because like you don't think of your parents outside of anything but your parents. And like obviously this whole trip made her being discovered like so much more about she knew about her mom. But like if you actually ever met your parents and are brought up by them and know them, you think you know everything about them, even when you're little, and you really don't think of them having any other lives outside of them being your mom and dad and always being together and stuff like that. So like it's pretty traumatizing if you learn of any other past that they had, right? So we have like a little story about this because our dad was married before, and I didn't find out till I was about 10. I'm gonna tell you the story. Yeah, I think it was 10. So my dad had this like workbench, and we used to like play down there all the time. It was like a hot mess down there. My dad was like semi-hoarder when it came to like the workbench. I don't know what was going on with that, but it was like a tragic hot mess. And there's just like shit everywhere from like literally every decade of his life. It was nuts. Anyway, so I find this box and I'm like looking through it, and there's wedding rings in it. I'm like, oh my God, cool. So I like pick them up and I see like inscribed on the inside, like, to Ron, like, love Pam forever or something like that. I'm like, who the fuck is Pam? So messed up. And so I have like a very active imagination. I was a huge reader as a kid. I am like spinning my wheels here. I'm like, who the fuck is Pam? Does dad have another family? Like literally my head is like exploding. So I go up to mom. Oh my God, we should call mom. She's sleeping. Damn it. And I'm like, Mom, I was like, who is Pam? And she's like, oh, that was your dad's first wife. I'm like, first wife? What? And they told us the whole story. And like, they had never told us. And I don't know why that would ever come up though. It's not like we know Pam, like anything about Pam. And we do know about Pam.
It was a brief relationship.
Yeah. So quick 13-month marriage, I believe. And just didn't work out. Like starter marriage, my dad would have been in his 20s, like late 20s. And yeah, and she's like, okay, like they had a house or an apartment, and she left and she took like all the furniture. So my dad was like, yeah, like I'm gonna have a fucking party. Like my house is empty, like I don't have any furniture. There's a lot of like room for people to move around. I'm gonna have a party. So he's a pharmacist, and he worked at the pharmacy, and like one of the receptionists, or not receptionists, no, it wasn't a nurse. She was like a nurse. But no. At the pharmacy, she was like the girl who worked in the pharmacy was not a pharmacist, like a technician, they call it, I think. Yeah. So she just like, it was like Walgreens. She was like the checkout girl. So my dad was like, hey, Carolyn, like I'm having this party, like invite everyone you know or whatever. So Carolyn's like, okay, cool. I'm going to bring my friend Carol. So her friend Carol comes, and that's when our mom and dad met at this house party that my dad threw because Pam left him and he had like an empty house to throw a party at. So it was so cute. I believe they kissed there. Adorable. And then Sweeties came along. So thank you, Pam.
I still find it weird. And I think it's really only weird for us because our parents were still together at the time. Obviously, kids that have parents that like have been divorced and remarried, it's not like such a big deal to them. But it seemed like I felt like it was a betrayal to me when I was little, which is weird because it's really not. It's just like this brief amount of time, but it's so weird to think about. And then like you start imagining things. You're like, well, what if she got pregnant accidentally and never told our dad, and our dad just has like a child that we're related to, like running around the world. Oh my God, that'd be crazy.
But I wanted to meet Pam. I've always been so fascinated by her. Like, and I thought when my dad died that she might come to the funeral, and I thought that would be like kind of cool, but she didn't. I mean, who knows where the fuck Pam is? I don't even know what her last name is. Was her name Pam Dumas at one point? Oh my God. What if her name is still? No, I'm sure it doesn't. That'd be weird. And we could look her up. But I think she looked like us, which was like kind of the weird thing. She had like long, straight, dark hair. Pretty sure. There were pictures around. But yeah, pretty cool though, huh? Yeah, cool. Oh man, I wish we could have done an Ask Girl. Because she would have been like, Pam, that bitch. And I wonder what she thinks about Pam. Yeah, good times, great oldies. What else?
Let's do some sweet questions. Sweet questions. Yeah. Sweetie, if you... All right. Imagine this scenario. You're sleeping. You wake up in the middle of the night. You're like, I'm parched. So you go to the kitchen and you're like, I need a beverage. What would you choose to drink?
I only drink water. Like, I don't have any other beverages in my house other than alcohol and water.
Okay, so if I'm getting this, you are saying you would not ever go into the kitchen, grab a carton of orange juice, and chug it out of the carton.
No. But like, let's remember, this is like the time when people didn't drink water. Like, it was only every other beverage. We are in like such a water time right now. It's crazy. Because even growing up, I don't remember drinking water literally ever. Do you remember drinking water?
Yeah, it was like cranberry juice. But so this scene is the scene where like Nicholas wakes up in the middle of the night and like he's like, I'm just getting a drink. And he like takes the carton of orange juice and like chugs it. If like that makes me nauseous, like being like in the middle of the night, getting up and being like, and like, because I'm always like a little bit like acid reflux. I do not want to be chugging some orange juice. It's gross. Also, there's another part where when Vada first arrives, Harry's like, let me get you a drink. And he pulls out two options, orange juice or milk, which is funny enough, the kind of the combination that your throat creates when you need to throw up. Gross. But she picks milk. And it's just like, yeah, we drank a lot of milk. And like, that was the thing back then. But now, I don't know. Do kids still do that? I don't know.
And it's just like zero hydration for me for any of those. Like I'll have a craving for like a juice or something like that, especially if I'm like hungover and like water does not taste right. Yeah. So I do like it for those kind of situations. But only water will do. Like I have water by my bedside table and like I'll wake up in the middle of the night. Usually I have to like pee at like 4 a.m. every night. It's just like a thing I do. But I'm also like super thirsty. And I have this habit now where I like pick up this glass and I just like chug it rapidly. And it feels so good. It's like warm water. It's not cold. But if you like wake up and you're like so parched, you have that water by your bed and you're just like gulp, gulp, gulp. Oh my God. It feels so good because it's like, and like again, like we were saying, like I don't remember drinking water at all as a kid. Now, if I don't have a drink of water and like every 10 minutes, I'm like, I am dying of thirst. So I don't know what used to happen when we were little. Like a whole school day, I don't remember drinking, like there was no water consumed. I don't think I ever drank it. They were nasty. So I'm kind of worried about my hydration as a kid, and maybe I'm overhydrating now, which is making me like always thirsty, or maybe I have diabetes. I don't know.
Well, that's like what they say about like chapstick. It's like you use chapstick, it makes your lips more chapped, so you keep using more chapsticks. It's like a vicious cycle. I don't know. I mean, obviously water is good for you. I don't trust people that don't drink a lot of water, and like it really weirds me out for the same reason that you just said. And I know people don't, and I'm sorry if you don't, but like drink that water, guys. Just drink it.
Like a friend of mine, like the other day was like, oh man, like I forgot, like I haven't drank any water all day. It was literally like 5 p.m. I was like, what are you talking about? Like literally I could not even comprehend. I was like, I take a sip of water literally like every 2 minutes all day. What the hell is wrong with people? And if I don't, I start to get a sore throat. Does that happen to you? So I was like out of water when I was commuting today, and I was like, oh my God. I was like desert in my mouth. I was like, maybe I should get off the train and buy a water bottle. I was like serious. I was like so fucked up. Oh my God, what if I have diabetes and I don't know it? I'm really concerned. No, you said it was. No. You said it's extreme thirst.
Who said that? No. This is what I said. Our older sister Liz was mean, and we always drank that like country time lemonade and like the powder. You would like mix it in the water jug and then we drink it. We had the pink lemonade one, and I like drank a lot of that one time at dinner. And Liz was like, "You're gonna get diabetes," and she was like, "One of the signs of diabetes is you have to urinate a lot. You have to pee a lot." And I was like, "Oh my god," because like I did have to pee a lot because I was drinking so much fucking pink lemonade. But like, what a bitch! And like, I love you, Liz, but like that was mean. So now whenever I pee a lot, I'm like, "Oh my god, do I have diabetes?"
Can you imagine now drinking like glass after glass of lemonade with dinner? That's crazy. Oh my god, I love it. This is too good. Yes, this is I love our tangents that we get to. It's like the best. I've never had more fun. Jeffrey Pomeroy, kind of hot. I know you're skeeved out about him, but there's just something about a man with a beard and a chambray shirt that I'm just like, I'm into it. Oh, it's a comment. Sweetie comment. Yeah, Jeffrey Pomeroy, hot. Questions. Do you think that Harry and Shelley are still a mismatched couple? Yeah or nay?
I think they still have like a cute little relationship. I don't know. I know that you still feel like they're mismatched, but I think they got a little something.
I mean, Shelley's just too cool for him. I'm sorry. Harry's a stick in the mud, and I know that's his character and like what he has to be, but it's just like, come on. He's just annoying.
Can we talk about the expression stick in the mud? Like what? So the stick, like the mud is supposed to be like cool, and then the stick like fucks it up because you're like the mud. Like I don't get it. Talk me through it.
First of all, is a stick in the mud an actual saying? It is, right?
You said it.
Do you remember that game Stuck in the Mud though? The tag game? That was pretty cool. Yeah. No, it's just like you're a stick in the mud. You like refuse to budge. You're like, stubborn. A stick stuck in mud. Yep.
I thought it was like synonymous with wet blanket. So I was like a downer, like
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
Not, but I think it's the more stubborn sense, maybe.
Perhaps. Maybe you should Google it. I love Googling old sayings and being like, what does this mean? What is the origin? It's my favorite thing. I mostly like it because for like 2 years of my life, I was using the phrase the bee's knees incorrectly. The bee's knees is not a bad thing. So it's actually good. Good to know.
A person who is dull and unadventurous and who resists change. We fear change.
You're right. Okay.
Synonyms. Old fogey.
Old fogey.
Conservative. Fossil.
Conservative fossil.
Troglodyte. That's a good one.
Animal in the La Brea tar pits.
Fuddy-duddy.
Fuddy-duddy.
Square. Stuffed shirt. Dinosaur throwback.
Okay. Cool. All right. My question next. How old were you when you shaved your legs?
Okay, I have a story about that. So I was in the library in 4th grade, I think. And this guy named John Donato, who I had a crush on, like literally all elementary school. He was kind of trouble, but like bad boy, so I kind of liked him. Anyway, he comes up to me in the library and he's like, "Are you a werewolf or something? You have hair all over your legs." I died. I was so upset, and I ran home to mom crying. And she's like, "Okay, I guess it's time to shave your legs." But 4th grade.
You would have been like 10 or something. That's old. That's young. So Vada is 13 in this, and her dad's like, "Do not shave." He doesn't want her to go to LA because he thinks she'll come back with her ears pierced and her legs shaved. And then later, the Rose is like, "Well," she gets her ears pierced, and she's like, "Well, just don't shave your legs, or your dad will never let you come back to visit us." I'm like, what? She's 13 and she can't shave her legs? That sucks.
I mean, good thing she got Shelley at all, because that could have been like a Marla Hooch situation where like if you're raised by a guy who like doesn't know anything about that kind of stuff and has all these like weird rules and whatever, like Vada maybe never would have shaved her legs. So good thing she has Shelley to like watch out for her woman back.
Like I don't remember the exact age I was when I did it. I remember that when I did it, I didn't ask. I shaved one leg and was like, "Look, Mom, I did it. Let me do it now." And she was like, "Okay, fine." And then I did the other one and I fucking cut myself and bled everywhere, but like whatever. But I remember, but like for us, it was a big deal because we had dark hair. So our leg hair was very dark. I had a friend whose hair was lighter and she didn't get to shave her legs for a while, but you couldn't really tell unless you looked closely. But then it was like a really hairy blonde person is kind of alarming.
Well, it's like that peach fuzz, like weirdness. But like, I mean, I like have to shave my legs like twice a day. Harry. I mean, I do if I'm going out. I won't do it if I'm not doing anything. But like, I get 5 o'clock shadow on my legs. I'm telling you, don't be an Italian. It's like great because I love my hair color, but kind of a nightmare in terms of we're equal parts.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be like French people are hairy too? Like it's always like that.
Yeah. All I can say is Europeans with dark hair. I mean, that's it. Polish? Hello. I mean, it's a curse. But a godsend. I mean, I love my hair color, but like my eyebrows and my legs, not good. Armpits too. One day of not shaving your armpits and it's like, whoa. My God, I was on waiting. I went to the beach like this summer and I saw this girl who walked into the beach. Okay, I'm saying it is totally fine if you don't want to shave your legs. I completely appreciate that. Like, more the power to you. But I have never seen a woman with this length of hair on her legs before. It was so crazy. Again, like total, you can do whatever you want, but I just had never seen that length on a woman. I had seen like, you can noticeably tell that they haven't shaved their legs, but this was like, this woman had never shaved her legs in her whole life. So it was literally like, oh, but with leg hair, does it eventually stop growing? It's not like it like keeps growing, right?
Check the Guinness Book of World Records. I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Have like a beard on your legs?
Ew, no. Gross. Good segue into feminism. So Vada is like an awesome feminist. Whatever. I drank the limoncello. I got excited. Okay, so here are her favorite feminist quotes that we loved. So the number one that we were like, oh my God. Okay. So there's this part in the beginning when she's like trying to tell him about her mom who's a spy. This isn't a great example of like proving the quote, so I'm gonna leave that out. But because she's just telling a lie, so obviously no one wants to listen. Okay, so then she says, how come boys talk so much when they have nothing to say, but girls have plenty to say and no one will listen? Oh my God, so true.
Bird. So true. Oh my God, like literally that might be in like Hillary Clinton's new book.
What happened?
The
Vada Sultenfuss story.
Yes. I mean, what the fuck, right, girls? Like, that is, like, so bullshit. Like, fellows, I love you, but, like, shut the fuck up.
Always. That's like mansplaining to a T. Ugh. Anyways. Okay. The second one is that Vada's like, I'm not going to change my name when I get married. And Nick's like, what? You think the guys should change their name? And she's like, no, I don't think anybody should change their name. Yeah. Yes. I've always been saying that. And my good friend, Jill Johnson, didn't change her name. She's married, and I think that's fly as fuck.
I thought we had a couple friends, too, that didn't change their name. We were like, yeah. Wasn't there, like, a couple, though?
Name them.
No, I can't remember them, but...
Guess they don't exist. I think you're wrong. But Jill's the only one that I know so far, so I don't know. But, I mean, that's super cool. And I've always said, like, when I get married, it's probably not going to happen, but if I get married, I'm not going to change my name because we're the last in the Dumas line. So it would end if we got married and changed our name. So I'm keeping that thing, and I'm gonna get knocked out by someone rando or go to a sperm bank, and I'm gonna get a baby and give them my name, and it's gonna live on forever.
Well, it just feels too late now to be changing your name. I don't know.
It's like when Instant Messenger was a thing and you were like, I'm going to change my screen name, but it was such a hassle because everybody had to like know about it and you had to get the word out. It sucked.
Or changing your email. I mean, it just seems like, if you get married later, like you're going to be living more of your life as it was, I guess maybe one thing if you were like married when you were like 22 and you're like, okay, like I'm gonna live the rest of my life under this name. But also it just like sucks that like your identity as that person and as a woman like does sort of disappear. I mean, I get the point is wanting to be a family and having like all one name, but just because you have a different name doesn't mean like you're not in the same family. You know, it's just, I think guys get like offended by that because they do want to have like a whole family unit and like whatever. But like, why do we have to give up your name? I love the Spanish culture where you just keep adding on the names. That is the coolest thing to me. Oh my God, love it. It's awesome because it's every name. It's all represented, which is what families like should be. It's pretty cool. I don't know if I married someone with a really cool last name, I would like kind of think about it, but not yet. Not yet. I'm not totally sold. They have to really sell me on it / maybe pay me in love.
Well, I think that's what they think they're doing. I always hated the thing where it would be like Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Dumas. Like that's annoying to me.
That's over.
I know, but like I just remember seeing that when I was a little girl and being like, huh? Like, why does my mom have to like be a man like in this name? It was just like a weird bullshit thing. I knew it was bullshit. Whatever. Yeah. So, what else you got? Anything else? I'm out of notes, so that's all I got. That's all I got, yo. You want to talk about your love for Jeffrey Pomeroy now?
Oh, I mean, I already did.
She thought he was cute. I thought he was gross. I thought he was creepy. He kind of creeped me out. There's a scene at the end. There's a part at the end where he's touching her face, and he's like, "You don't."
You just met.
Yeah, you just met.
You're an old man.
You don't know
Touching
her.
a 13-year-old, like caressing her face. I mean, I think part of that was like obviously she's the offspring of Maggie, who is once his love. So that was just like crazy seeing someone he loves, daughter, and just like she probably looks like her a little bit, and it's just kind of like reminiscing, not in a sexual way, but just like I love this person so much, and this is like.
And you don't watch Game of Thrones, but like there's this basically the same thing happens in Game of Thrones where like Littlefinger. Lord Baelish, like loves Catelyn Stark, and then she dies, and then he's like becomes obsessed with Sansa Stark, and it's like a really creepy relationship. And you're like, this is not a replacement for Catelyn. Like, get the fuck out of here. Your face is awesome. But it's like it reminded me of that now. So like, ew, creepy. He also, I don't know, what does Jim Henson look like? Does he look like that or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not as attractive. Jim Henson was a little bit more nerdier.
Okay. I always thought when I
Longer
was little
face.
that like, is Jim Pomeroy Jim Henson? No, Jim Pomeroy? No. Jeff Pomeroy. So,
What are you on a like nickname basis? Yeah, my friend Jeff Pomeroy. Jeffrey Pomeroy. You always nickname everybody. Our dad had like a nickname like thing that he like a nick what's that called? Like a nickname epidemic sickness. Nicknamer. Instant nicknamer. So the best example was this guy that worked at the pharmacy with my dad. No. Well, to that too, but like this guy worked at the pharmacy with my dad. He was a pharmacist, and this guy like worked with my dad, and his name was Robert. And my dad immediately started calling him Bob. He's like, "Hey, Bob, Bobby, Bob," when they're at work, and he had to go up to my dad and be like, "My name is Robert." And my dad was like, "Whoa, okay." So then he became Robert, don't call me Bob Murphy or whatever. Like my dad couldn't even handle it. He's like, "What is this guy's problem?" Like I called him Bob. He like can't handle it. But it was like, yeah, my dad loved the nicknames. Ron D. We talked about him so much in this podcast. He must know with just looking down on us. Thomas J. The Pete stinks. Can't see without his glasses. Anywho. Good podcast.
Anything else? That's it. Sweetie True, creepy as fuck face. Is that a guy with giant lips? Great drawing. We'll post it on Twitter. Anyways, thank you for sticking in there with us through all of our side stories and tangents. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to connect with us on social media, please follow us at The Sweetie Club on Twitter or at Large Marge Sent Us on Instagram. Thank you for listening.
And thanks to all our new followers from, I was on, my Jeopardy appearance was yesterday, so I think we got like a couple or maybe lots of new followers. So welcome to Large Marge Sent Us. Good to have you here. And thanks for listening. Love ya.
Love ya. Bye.
Bye.